A love for racing runs in the blood for many upstate fans. We're lucky to have a racing team right here in Spartanburg. I'm talking about number 51, nationwide driver Jeremy Clements and his team. We're happy to be joined by Jeremy this morning to talk about success and what's next for him. Good morning to you, Jeremy.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming and bringing a little bit of swag with you here.
That's right. That's
everyone here loves NASCAR and loves rooting on teams, especially when they're local teams. So we appreciate you coming and hanging out with us.
We're very local.
Yeah.
We're like down the.
I know
right,
they were saying
right
like he's right there. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, awesome. You can just stop by every day then.
That's right.
We can think of something to put in the show every day. I just want to get this out of the way because there has been some a controversy brewing over the last year and a half. I guess it's been where you were off the record talking to an MTV reporter. You were actually doing a good deed by showing them how to get to another driver. And you were printed to have said a racial slur, and you have since apologized to it. And I wanted to go ahead and we talked about this earlier, so we could get it over with. I just want to give you an opportunity to respond to that. A lot has happened in the year and a half.
Yeah, I definitely made a mistake. Was in Daytona in February of last year, and just off the record, like you said, talking to a guy, and made a remark that definitely has no place in society today, and is not in my vocabulary, and that's not who I am at all. So
and I read an interview where you said that is not your heart.
No, it's definitely not. I just, like I said, I made a mistake, and I'm very sorry for it, and it's just not who I am, and I moved on from it.
And I would imagine that probably in the last year and things like that, you've had a lot of people coming up to you and knowing that that's not who you are, and probably taking. And when you talk to a lot of these reporters too, it's off the record versus on the record and things like that. So I'd imagine you probably found a lot of people who are there supporting you. So we're going to be moving on now past that and talk about the stuff that everyone wants to hear about, and that is your racing career. I was reading through your stuff, and it was saying that your grandfather was a team owner, and now of course your father manages your team. In your blood, you had no choice.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up around it. My grandfather, Crawford Clements, he got that shop that we're still in now. I point like it's right there, but it literally is.
It's really out the window.
Yeah, it really is. He got it started, in the 70s, and he was a crew chief back in the 50s and 60s with his brother Lewis Clements, and they actually won a championship in a lot of races with different drivers. They won the championship in '60 with Rex White, like the NASCAR championship. So that's pretty cool.
Is there any pressure involved in that when you have the Clements name and you have your grandfather and your father who are both these big time guys? Is it a lot to live up to?
Not really. I don't ever think of it like that. I think my grandfather, he passed away in '96, unfortunately, and I think he'd be so proud. And I pray every time I get in the car that he's helping me and watching over me. So he's, one day I'll see him in heaven, and hopefully he's proud of me. But he got it started, and they got me a go-kart when I was 7, like a racing go-kart, because I used to tear up the yard.
Go-kart, huh?
I used to tear up the yard so much. I raced back at Buck Creek Speedway in Chesney. That's where I started, and I just kept moving up the ladder, and here we are, been in NASCAR in the Nationwide Series for a good time now. And
you got in it pretty young, too. What was it, 18?
Yeah, I was 18. It was called the Busch Series then. My first start, Pikes Peak, Colorado.
One of the youngest probably ever to do that. Maybe the youngest. Yeah.
It was at that time. I don't even know the stat now. I'm turned 29 this year, so it's flew by.
Yeah. What are some things that you're most proud of with rankings and things like that? I know it's probably tough to pick it out because when you have a small town team and a small town crew trying to go after that, I'd imagine that each race it's a different kind of scenario. But what are some of the things that you're proud of with your career?
I was fortunate even before racing nationwide that I run a lot of dirt late model stuff and won a lot of those races. Then we moved to ARCA, won in Nashville, and won a big guitar, a Gibson guitar, and then I did a lot of stuff. I did some stuff for Joe Gibbs Racing, practicing qualifying for Kyle Busch in '08 and '09, and Joe Logano, and I've had a lot of success. Never had that big opportunity break I've needed. But I've been very blessed and fortunate to race for our local team. It's a family team. My dad and I own it, and they build the engines right here, and we do everything. So we're just always looking for sponsorship. So if there's any local companies out there that want to get on a NASCAR race car seen on TV every weekend.
Yeah, and if you love local, then you should probably support it. You know, put your money where your mouth is.
That's right. But we finished 10th at Indianapolis 2 years ago when the first race was there. I was proud of that. We've had a lot of good runs here and there. We finished 6th a few weeks ago at Road America, the road course. We finished 8th at Daytona a couple weeks ago. So we've had a lot of good runs.
I'm always interested to know this. When you're in your driver's chair, you're getting ready to get on the course. What is going through your head, and how much does faith play a part of that? We talked a little bit about faith earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very focused. When I get in the car, you're a different person. You know, I always say a prayer right before the race, even before practice, anything, qualifying, and then I always do like a cross like before the restart or anything. And it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like, you know, nothing's going to stop me or hurt me today. I don't ever get worried about getting hurt or you know what, you can even get, you know, killed some of these.
Yeah, because I mean, we were looking at video from, I guess, 2004 when you had a really big crash and you know, these things are serious, so you kind of have to got to go all in, I would assume.
It's very dangerous, but luckily, you know, the safety has stepped up its game with technology the way it is now. You don't ever worry about it, but you know it's there. And, you know, it killed Dale Earnhardt back in '01. I mean, it can get anybody, but we don't ever worry about that. If you're worried about that, you shouldn't be out there. I mean, you're going 200 miles an hour some of these tracks, so you can't be worried about that. And, you know, rely on God to get me through it each and every week. And, you know, I had a serious hand injury in '04 and derailed me for a year. And my faith, it was a hard time for me because all I've ever done is race. Doctor said, you know, you wouldn't race again. And I was just devastated. I was like, there's no way. I mean, what am I going to do? It's all I've ever done, all I know how to do. So faith got me through that. And good Lord willing, we're here today. And, you know, I can race.
We'll see more out of you. As we go out, we only have a couple seconds left. Dash for Cash. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was in it. I was in it this past weekend. We didn't win. It was an extra $100,000 because we finished in the.
Man, that'd have been nice.
I would have been very nice for our team.
Could have rented out the whole studio.
Yeah, that's right. But there's 3 more races. We have a chance of getting back in it and getting it. So we need to step up our game and do a good job this weekend and get it back into it. But
awesome.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Jeremy, thank you so much for being here. JeremyClementsRacing.com has all the information. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Since you're right down the street.
Yeah.